This is the Above Average Podcast, and you are listening because you want an above average life. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Above Average Podcast, the podcast where we talk to above average people about their above average lives. Now today, with some of the guests on my podcast, I like to get people who I can relate to on something that we both know about, and some people who are, I'm completely in the dark about. And that is my guest today. My guest today has what he would describe as a bulletproof mindset. He also runs every race imaginable, dives into the open sea, and never wears a t-shirt on Instagram. So Craig, Brodie, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
It's nice to see you with a t-shirt on.
Not a problem.
So before we get into when we spoke on the phone, you mentioned something called a bulletproof mindset, which I'm really intrigued to talk about. So before we get into that, take me back to a little before all this. You were quite the party animal,
yes,
would you say? So tell me about that time in your life. What was a typical night out like for you?
Yeah, so like early 20s, it was all revolving around looking forward to the Friday evening, getting out with your friends and basically partying all weekend. Obviously at the time, so much fun, but then as you get a little bit older, you realise that in fact you're actually doing a lot more damage to yourself than what you realise. And you only can really understand that once you take a step back from the situation as well.
Yeah. Was it like too much alcohol, did you touch any drugs or anything like that? Or
yeah, it was pretty heavy in that respect. So obviously, when you're younger, you're impressionable and you follow the guide of others as well. And I think now it's more so like be the wolf and be the one that pushes harder to basically lead your own path and do what you think's right in the situation as well.
Nice. Did you have like a typical group that you went out with and partied?
Yeah, good friends, and it was just like, let's say, like any event that you could find, going away to the likes of Amsterdam, Ibiza, all that sort of stuff. And it was, like I say, it was a fantastic experience, but now it's also for mindset, health. As you get older, you've got to look after yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's absolute primary goal.
What age were you when you realised that you kind of had to give your health a bit more of a boost?
I think I hit like 30, and then from that point onwards I thought, right, now's the time to really start focusing on myself, look at ways that I can push boundaries in fitness more than anything, because I wasn't in fantastic shape. I just started running in 2018 as well, so I haven't really been doing it that long. Going to the gym, pottering about, not really getting anything from it. I had no direction. I was literally just winging it, essentially. Yeah,
well, I think that's what a lot of people do. I think especially, like, I haven't reached 30, I'm 27 now. I know I look a lot older than people are like, are you 27? What the fuck? But yes, I am 27, and I look about 35. But I've heard that when you reach 30, yoga definitely becomes a thing that you need to do because your joints are all stiff. But it seems to be a turning point for a lot of people where they sort of realise that I'm not as young as I once was, and my goals and everything sort of changed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what was sort of the main thing that really changed for you in terms of the mindset? Like, before we go into bulletproof stuff.
Of course.
But what was the main thing that you sort of realised? Was it like a gradual thing, or was it like a overnight?
It was, so I was doing, moving to CrossFit, just before I started doing the running. There was a guy there, like a really close friend, that had constantly been running, doing the Great North Run, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And I took it as an opportunity to try something new. So that was the first time that I'd done it. It was the most difficult run that I've ever done. Hadn't trained for it really, and just went out there. Heart rate was like 195, out of shape. But the burning desire to improve on that, it literally was like a flick of a switch.
Nice.
So I was almost thinking, right, now that I've managed to physically do the Great North Run, do the 13.1 miles, what else can I do? So we got involved with like Tough Mudders to try that. Various different activities along the way, and then eventually started getting into running on a more regular basis as well. The
Tough Mudder thing looks really fun, but like really difficult.
It is, and obviously when you haven't got that fitness underneath you, it can be quite hard, because you're literally climbing over walls, you're going through freezing cold water, you're getting electric shocks, and you're out there
electric shocks?
Yeah, absolutely.
What?
So you've got to run through a load of wires, and if you don't run quickly enough, or if the charge hits, you get an electric shock from it as well.
Shit.
So it's pretty intense.
Are we talking like someone's rubbed their feet on carpet and touched you?
Yeah, it's a zap, but you'll still feel it.
Oh my God, no.
But yeah, so it was just trying to like push the boundaries in that respect, and I started realising that when you do that sort of stuff, you get the dopamine hit, the rush of endorphins through your body, and you can actually get, rather than a superficial high, you can get a natural high from just everyday activities as well. And I really thought, right, this is the kind of route plan that I want to take.
Cool. Well, with the club aspect now, the club and the party inside, like what sort of, when you look back now, what's your sort of opinion on the whole scene now?
I think it's fantastic. I mean, I've got some close friends that are actually touring the world now that are really enjoying it. So they're making their lives from the music industry, and it's fantastic to see. I think and personally, I still think that you've got to experience it. That is my honest approach to it. For me personally, I had negative effects from it mental health, panic attacks, all that sort of stuff came through. But I was damaging my own body from doing that, and I just realised that I didn't want to go through that anymore. But like I say, I'd had so many fantastic experiences, met some really great people, but life needs to evolve. You need to change your route, and you need to find new activities that give you a buzz in life. And for me, that went from the transition with that. And I love music. I listen to music everywhere. If I go for a run, it's on. And it's got to be that sort of rolling beat to give you that buzz that gets you going. But it's the natural high that you get from those activities now that are my main focus, like, and drive, definitely.
Nice. Well, I've seen runners, like, because I live quite close to like a big, like, sort of woodland, I guess you were saying. There's always people running and pegging it through that, and I'm just like, I see some of them without headphones. I'm like, what drives you?
I know,
like, what crazy
insane
thing goes on in your head to be able to make you run without headphones?
Unbelievable. And like, you hear your feet pounding, you hear your own breath, but when you've got your music in, you can just get into that zone with it as well. And it'll be a selection of like melodic stuff, some harder stuff that I used to listen to, but you just find that particular beat that just makes you feel good, and then it's just one foot in front of the other, and then you're out. It's for me personally, when I'm running, I would be in what I would call paradise. It's like my release from life. It's absolutely fantastic. I love it. Yeah,
nice. I also noticed that you have a lot of tattoos. For anyone watching, Craig has a lot of tattoos. I went through Facebook to try and find it. That's where I noticed there was a load of club photos.
Yeah.
It's like every photo is just you in a club. I was like, club, trying to find something cool. I also noticed there was a picture of a Gears of War tattoo. Is that yours?
Yeah, so that's on the back of my leg, but I've transitioned that. So I'm really into like space and universe and all that sort of stuff. So I actually transitioned that into like a planet. And I've got the first man on the moon, I've got a tattoo on the back of my leg, and that planet's the representation of the Gears of War tag now. So I changed it because it's like I've evolved into the next stage of life.
That's quite cool. Yeah, because normally you see people with tattoos and you're like, oh, when did you get this one? I got it when I was younger, and it's not me anymore. But have you done that to any other tattoos?
No, that was the only one, and everything else that I've got on my body, so my chest's covered, my legs, my arms, they've all got a little meaning to them as well. Nice. Whether that be like a path that I've been taking or a change in life. So I've got obviously that one there, the butterfly. That's obviously like new beginnings, fresh starts, and like that's a representation for like the new path that I want to be taking as well. So
it's good that it's on your hand and not as a tramp stamp on your back.
Well, this is it. But I mean, I did also check to make sure with the guys that I work with that it would be suitable as well. So I'm always mindful of that. But this day and age, it is what it is. It's you've got to think the person's not represented from what they look like or how they're seen. This is just like, I am me. I can do the job, and if I've got some tattoos on us, I think these days it's acceptable. I think. Yeah,
it's quite interesting because some places still don't allow people with tattoos. Like obviously, I'm a blank slate. I'm a blank baby. I don't have tattoos. Mostly because I'm skint and can't afford them. But I'm also quite indecisive of what I'd actually want to have on.
Once you get one though, you'd be off.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. But it's like, I don't know what I'm going to do for that one. Loads of people are like, oh, like you'd really suit a sleeve, or you'd really suit like a head tattoo because you're bald. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can't imagine getting my cranium tattooed.
Honestly, well, as it happens, my next one's planned on the back of my head.
Nice.
So I'm going to get like mandala. So I'm really into the sort of geometric patterns. I find them really fascinating. So that's going to lead onto me back, and then just get a full piece on there. I haven't quite decided what that's going to be.
Nice. Are you going to look like Travis Barker from Blink-182, just head to toe?
No, nothing on the face. Obviously, the neck's probably the limit there. Hands are got a little bit, but then So
this took a tangent on tattoos. I didn't have it planned in tattoos, but I'm curious. Like, what was the most painful one that you got?
I would say probably like inside of your arms, quite bad. I mean, that wasn't too bad. I actually had that one numbed up. I just
on your neck. Yeah.
You know, when you get a bit older, you think, why am I going through this pain? So I spoke to tattooist. She was like, no, let's just numb them up, and it's actually a lot more enjoyable because you can sort of like meditate through it and relax.
Nice. To be fair, I've been seeing a few people's tattoos, and I'm just like, it doesn't look pleasant at all. Like, I think. See, I'm quite a nerdy bloke. That's why I asked about Gears, because I'm a massive gamer. And as soon as I saw like Gears of War tattoo, I was like, oh my god, we're gonna have a conversation about games or something like that. Are you still much of a gamer?
Unfortunately not, no. So I just don't find the time for it, to be honest with you. I did have the love for it. I used to play on Halo loads and Gears of War. We on it for hours at a time, but I went on it not long ago, and like all the youngins are on it now. They're so good, and I just couldn't get going with it. And I thought, that's going back in the box. It's just
I feel you. I went on, me and my best friend. We've played Halo since we were like 7 or something like that. Since the first one came out in 2001. And honestly, we go online now and we get absolutely creamed. I'm just like, fuck, bro. Like, I can't
unless you're on it all day, every day. And as a kid, you've got the opportunity, like summer holidays and stuff like that, and you get such a buzz from it. We used to have headsets on. There was 5 of us in the street playing together on the big team games. But then, you come out of it, and it's like there's no way back in. Like, nah.
Well, we went on team doubles on the Master Chief Collection, and it was like it took us back to like old Halo 1 days, and I was like, oh, cool. like very basic mechanics, right? It was me and my mate, and then these other two guys. And as soon as the match started, one of their team dropped out. So we were like, oh, easy win.
Yeah.
Right? This dude was such a pro. He absolutely wiped the floor with it. We didn't even touch him.
Really?
It's just 1v2, and he just creamed it. And I was like, we're old now.
Nah.
I was like, there's no way we're
It's just time to park it, because when you're playing on it and you're good, you get that rush from it as well.
Yeah.
And I think now, I was like, nah, I'd rather read a book, to be honest with you. More satisfying and show me age.
No, man. To be fair, I'm pretty into books at the minute. I've got a massive shelf of books that I want to read.
Yeah.
At the minute, I'm reading like a fantasy series because I made it my goal to. Because I got obsessed with self-help books.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I need a break from that because I was getting really serious.
Yeah.
Everything was like self-help related. Everything was like, well, this needs to be this way and this needs to be this way. And I was like, I need to read something that just makes no fucking sense.
Yeah.
Like, there's just magic involved. There's wizards and whatever else and pirate ships and shit. I was like, I need to read something.
It just gets your head out of the normal day-to-day life as well.
Yeah,
really
exactly.
does.
It was. I didn't want to use it as an escape. That wasn't what
Yeah.
I had planned. I just wanted to get my head in a different space.
Yeah,
really,
definitely.
change my state a little bit. But yeah, in terms of when you change jobs, you took what you call a calculated risk.
Yeah,
and I like
did.
that phrase that you took a
Yeah.
calculated risk. So in your mind, what is a calculated risk?
It's trying to judge whether the next move forward is going to pay off, whether that be monetary value, whether that be for my own mental health benefit, whether I'm going to put myself at risk and affect others around us for that decision. I'd calculate things before I do them. I'm very cautious.
Yeah.
But once I've experienced it and I know that I can do it, then it's full throttle and it's 100%. But obviously I worked for this company for 15 years, from a young apprentice, working through the ranks. I've done everything you can imagine in terms of factory floor working, into the office, done all that side of things as well. But then I was kind of like hitting my head off the roof and I couldn't make any further progress. But it was like my mental health was suffering for that as well. I was overly stressed with situations, things weren't working. It felt quite toxic in some respects. And the company that I work for now, we had several conversations about what I was going to do to make sure that it was going to work for us. Because it was a gamble from both ends of the scale.
Yeah.
I'm going from a manufacturing environment and now I work for a property developer. And I didn't know anything about new builds, renovations or anything like that.
Yeah, you went in totally blind.
Yeah, completely blind. But I could harness all the skills that I'd learned, like planning, management of men throughout that process, going through purchasing, so on and so forth, so I could use those skills into a new role. You've just got to adapt your environment, and eventually I just thought, right, you've only got one life and you've really got to try and take some risks.
Yeah.
And at this point I just thought, right, let's just do it. What's the worst that could happen? And when you can get yourself out of that mindset, the fear is huge. It's so big. Like I was nearly in tears handing me notice in because I was that worried that I might be making the wrong decision. But I can hands down say now that's the best decision that I've ever made. We're based in Northumberland at the minute. I'm up in Scotland on a regular basis, so I get to see different environments, work with different people, and I'm learning every single day. And that, for me, is more valuable than anything else.
Yeah, well, it's like most people don't change. How long were you with the first job for?
15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
That's a fucking long
It's a
time.
long time.
That's like, I've never worked in a job more than 7 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for most people to make that change, to make that shift, is a very scary thing, like you said. And I think until the pain of change becomes less than the pain of staying the same, if I didn't butcher that quote, then that's when you'll make that decision to move.
Absolutely.
Was that exactly the case for you?
Yeah, and I just thought, like, if I don't do this now, it's like the what if scenario. What if I'm stuck here doing the same thing in 5-10 years time? What am I going to do for my own self? Like, can I continue to develop?
Yeah.
Like, I'm 34 now, and I was thinking at the time, I was probably 32ish. If I don't make this jump, I might not have the drive to do it.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, if somebody is going to give me an opportunity like this, which was absolutely fantastic based on the experiences that I'd already learned, got to go for it. Got to do it.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of hard work. It is hard now. It's very hard. Some days are so challenging, but you harness the skills from others around you to help you develop.
Yeah.
So you could come away feeling really stressed out, overwhelmed, tired, all that sort of stuff. But then your next day after you've had recovery, you start soaking that information in.
Yeah.
So then it becomes like a habit. So you know what you're doing on a regular basis, and then you go to the next challenge to see what else you can learn from it.
Yeah. Would you say you're competent now? Competent, not confident. Would you say you're competent at it?
Competent, I think, I am competent in what I do. I've managed to turn a lot of things around within the job that I'm doing, bring on new team members. I actually took on a close friend to work up in Scotland, which has probably paid off beyond what I could have ever imagined, to be honest with you, for both parties. And I think developing a close team, like we focus on making sure that everyone that we work with are that's that same sort of vibe. It's
Yeah.
not just pull anybody off the street. It needs to be a good working environment for everybody as well. So it's the right personality, the right energy, and that'll help our company develop so far beyond just picking people off the streets or from an agency. It's really critical in that respect.
think one of the things about picking people for businesses that I was heard, and I was like, I've never had to hire anyone.
Yeah.
Well, to be saying that, I used to do when I first started making videos, I got people involved with the videos based on not whether or not they necessarily knew the most, but they had that passion, that enthusiasm to learn and to do it, because it was the energy and the enthusiasm that I wanted more than like, because people can like, I've been to speeches and stuff like that. Have you been to many motivational speeches in your time?
No, I haven't actually.
No, so you can go to some, right? And some of them are so full of energy, and you're like, I love this guy, I love this woman, whatever. And then there's other ones who are like college professors who are sat in front of a laptop and they're like, so this is my PowerPoint presentation, and you're like, oh my god, like this is not what I want from you. I want your passion and enthusiasm, and I want you to actually teach me, but in a way that I don't know I'm being taught to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think when you're hiring people, it's got to be from that, like you said, the personality, the passion, the enthusiasm.
Of course it does. I mean, like, I never went to university or anything like that, and I know that a lot of people that went down that route, trying to get jobs these days is very difficult. My thought process is, if I apply everything that I've got inside myself to anything, I can achieve it. So I mean, with the other company, I've done a diploma in procurement and display, and that was basically learning away from work, night times, weekends, all that sort of stuff. Got through it, got a diploma, and then I thought, right, well, I can just keep pushing on. So if I apply myself and literally put everything into it, as painful as it could be, I can get somewhere with it. But my drive's not for the money side of things, it's for the personal development, because then if I've got a better quality of life for myself and people around us, that is so much more valuable than the pay packet at the end of each month. It really is, and I'll stick by that forever, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, you hear about rich people being fucking miserable, and you're like, I genuinely think money can buy happiness, right? I'm not going to dispute this. I think money can. It's like, if you've got problems, there's not many problems that money can't fix. But it's how much are you working for that money, and what are you doing to make that money that makes the difference.
Of course.
Like, you can be rich if you're just sailing around Barbados or whatever on your little yacht, and you're happy as Larry, that's great, right? But for most people who are probably rich, they've had to work 80, 90 hour weeks or whatever. They don't see their kids. They probably not even have kids, because they're just like, they've got no time. They don't even have a wife or anything. Do you know what I mean? It's a very lonely existence.
Absolutely, of course it is. And like, it's not all about that bank balance. And I agree with you. It's nice, like, buy a nice car, buy a nice house, all that sort of stuff. But they're objects. And I've learned to take the experience rather than the object from that, and spending time with people that I love. And you get so much more value from it. That's why I get myself out and go hiking, go running in the great outdoors, all that sort of stuff. Because you just realise that, in fact, you don't need to be working all the hours of the day to have a good life, and I genuinely think that that's the best route for me personally. I know it's not for everybody, but I don't want to be driven by money to the point where I forget what's important in that respect. Well,
it's funny, I was saying I had a few episodes ago now, by the time this one's come out, I was saying that I saw a video by Ben Shapiro, who, whether you love him or hate him, has some wisdom in what he says, even if his voice is really annoying. And he said in an interview, saying, if you look at anyone's tombstone, what's written on it is never about what they got, what they achieved. It was always what they meant to other people. And I was like, that's really interesting, because when Adam Proud comes up on a tombstone, or Craig Brodie comes up on a tombstone, it's like, what is it going to say? Is it going to say that they were a beloved husband, father, whatever? Like, did they look after their family? Were they kind? Were they considerate? Were they hardworking? Do you know what I mean? It's like, what effort did they put into the people around them? Not like, oh well, here lies Craig Brodie, he died on his yacht. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't say that.
Exactly. No, exactly. And they say that, like, the memories that you can take from the experiences are just so much more valuable than that side of things. But people get sucked into it, and they just keep pushing and pushing. I don't get us wrong. I think it's fantastic you get into like that business environment. Like the company I'm working for, we've got huge plans, and I think like with the application that we all take evenly throughout the process, we'll get what we want out of it without having to burn ourselves out, break our own backs, all that sort of stuff. And it's the balance. Like, I'm happy to, like, when I'm at work, I'm applying, I'll work weekends, I'll work a little bit later, but what you've got to remember is that you also need that downtime with your family, and not forget the important side of things in that respect as well. Because if you're out of balance, it can be very difficult to take a focus on other things. It then starts negatively affecting your own mindset as well. And that was one thing I found with the other place. Like, I was so sucked into the process that I would come home and that's all I would talk about, subconsciously. Waking up in the middle of the night, worrying about stuff, trying to plan things in, it's not a way of life that you really want to be going down, because that stress can cause illnesses and all that sort of stuff further down the line as well. So I'm just very mindful of that, and the reason why I do so much of the activities as well outside of it.
Yeah, it's funny when you say balance, right? Because a lot of people think balance means 50-50.
Yeah.
Right, but it's not. It can't be 50-50.
No, absolutely not.
And that balance will always change.
Of course it will.
Right, it's like you can't have, if you try and make your balance between work and home life, or work and personal life, let's just say 50-50, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Right, because sometimes one will take precedent over the other. You'll have to do, maybe it's even 70-30, maybe it's even 80-20, but that's still a balance.
Mm-hmm.
But it just depends on your life circumstance and what kind of lifestyle you want to live. Like, I'm very much a believer in a lot of people's problem when it comes to their mental health and their misery, I would say, comes to the fact that they haven't created a lifestyle that they are happy with.
Yeah.
They've just fell into a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. They haven't created one.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what your sort of story so far gives me, is that you wanted to start creating a lifestyle rather than just living that same lifestyle for 15 years.
Yeah, definitely. And I think to be able to, so for example, I started a training plan, I think it was April of last year. So there's a guy called Lewis Blythe he's like a personal trainer down where I live.
Right.
I went and seen him. I obviously was loving the running, but wasn't in great shape, and I had real bad body confidence as well. So obviously, as a young kid, I was quite chubby, quite fat, and got a lot of grief for it. So that impacts on you anyway. Mm-hmm. So we started a training plan together to strip a load of weight off, to basically try and improve me, not just physically but also mentally. So we've been working for 14 months now. And I was with him this morning. We're going to, I was saying it before, going through these posing routines, something that's way beyond my comfort zone. But you kind of allocate that time on the evening or the morning, and this is the balance side of things. Mm-hmm. You might have a longer day at work, but just look at it this way: you've got 45 minutes on an evening to go and do a gym session, and you just need to keep it consistent. Not motivation, because I think you can't rely on that to run through everything. No. But it's when you see that consistent approach to something. You don't have to be superhuman. You just have to keep working at it. And we've done that for 40 months. I mean, I was 92 kilos when I went and seen him. I'm sitting at 75 at the minute. Nice. And I feel so much better. Body's functioning better. Outlook on life's improved dramatically. But then that reflects on others as well. Yeah. So if you feel good within yourself, and it's not an ego thing at all, because it's really not. I'll promote the kind of stuff on my Instagram in that respect, like you were saying before about tops off and all that sort of stuff. But it's something I've never been able to do, and it's that confidence factor to do it. So he's managed to basically get me to a point where I feel so much better within myself. Yeah. I'll go for a run, I'll have me top off, it's sunny, and it doesn't bother us. And the first time I'd done it, I was fearing that everyone was going to look at us, but no one batted an eyelid. And I think that in itself is breaking that comfort zone. Break out of that, then you realise, if I can do that, what's the next thing I can do? And that's how my brain's constantly working, looking for that next challenge. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think when it comes to, like you said, the sort of confidence that you can get, in your old job, you mentioned that you suffered with panic attacks. Yeah. Right, so for anyone listening who doesn't know or doesn't understand what panic attack is, can you just describe what a typical panic attack would be? Yeah, like? So the very first one that I ever had, it was basically I was sitting there and I actually felt all right, and then suddenly I got it was almost like a wave of energy through my body. Mm-hmm. And my heart rate went through the roof. I was hot and sweaty, clammy, and I couldn't catch my breath at all. Didn't have a clue. Thought I was having a heart attack, to be honest with you. Yeah. Had to leave the room, and it probably lasted for about 10-15 minutes. But then when I came back out of it, still not knowing that was what the situation was, I was just so drained. Really, really drained. But then because that had happened, one little heart palpitation after that would then trigger it again. So I went through trying to take things to help it, and not realising that it was the mix of everything that I was doing that was putting that much pressure on my body, that it was a fight or flight scenario. And it was literally flight, get out, basically get out of there. And that really affects you mentally as well, because you think, you're obviously not looking after yourself. Am I doing something wrong? And you go on a spiral of all this negative thought process. And you start worrying about yourself, and it can really enclose you as well. So you don't want to take part in stuff, and you're just constantly worrying about the next time that it's going to happen. Yeah. And it's such an intense experience. Fortunately enough, having worked throughout the years, looking after myself, getting away from that party scene like we were talking about before, it hasn't happened. And I'm aware of the triggers that could cause one as well, so I'm just mindful of it really when I'm doing stuff that's maybe pushing it a little bit too hard. Yeah, it's funny I mentioned the party scene, because I used to get a lot of anxiety because I used to love going out. I was out 3-4 nights a week. Yeah, you know what I mean. Not always getting drunk, but just being in that scene. Yeah, and the overwhelm is
massive.
Yeah.
Like when you're around that many people and you're
Mhm.
around just music's blaring, there's people shouting, there's people running past you. Like sometimes it's very much like I can honestly see how many people would suffer to be in that environment,
Yeah.
would struggle to really get involved in the club scene, as
Aye.
it were. I'm not sure how it is now. I haven't been out clubbing for a long time.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I hadn't. So we went to one in December, me and two of my mates, and just had a few drinks. Actually got really drunk that night. And it had been years since we'd done it, and it was good fun, but I was very aware of the circumstances and the surroundings. Whereas previously, in my early 20s, I would just be in there, 100 mile an hour, didn't have a care for the world, loving it. And it's that sort of awareness of your surroundings that I've sort of developed. So I walk into a room, I can feel the energy from people as well. And I know if something's not quite right. So I can either do something about it or basically remove myself from the situation. Because you just focus on those triggers that could send you on the sort of negative path of things as well.
Have you reached that old man level yet where you start going, can't believe you're doing that? Who let you go out wearing that? You know
no, to be honest with you, no. I totally respect that. And I think like with the younger generation, I understand, and I think I would always have that stance. I know, like from a young age, the kind of things that I was experiencing, like 13 onwards, and I would never suggest that, like to force somebody not to do it. You've obviously got to be very careful with the route that you take. It's really critical with that. And it depends who it is, of course, but generally speaking, I feel like people have got to experience that side of things, but it's not for everybody either.
True.
So really, it's a case of, if you're going to do it, be safe, be as safe as you can be, and just like look after each other as well, and just really understand that like what you're doing can have a negative effect on it, and that's it really. Because you've still got to have fun, you've got to enjoy your life, and like I say, you do get so much enjoyment out of that as well. And
I think you've got to drink with the right people, man. Because we've had friendship groups in the past. Like I'm not gonna start dissing people's names and shit, but
of course,
people who just when they drink, it's just your liability.
Aye.
You know what I mean? And I'm just like, you bring so much drama into the group. You ruin nights out because you go too far, and then it's just like, it's not fun. It takes like me and my close mates now. If we went and got smashed, there wouldn't be an ounce of drama between us. There'd be no bad blood. None of us would start fights. We'd just have a good fucking time. Get drunk, go play some pool, have some nuggets, and pass out. That would be the night, right? And that for me is ideal.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
I don't need drama. I don't need shit stirring happening. I just want fun with my mates, good vibes. That's all. That's all it is. Like when you're younger, you kind of like that. You kind of like the drama a bit. Like, such and such is doing this. Oh, so do you see what such and you kind of like
too
that
much. It fills your head with a lot of negative energy as well.
Yeah. That's why I don't watch. I've never watched like soap operas and stuff.
Yeah,
like that. I've never been a.
Why would you want to go through someone else's life in that respect, though? And like, I don't get it either. To be honest with you, it's for me, it's like watching some like a documentary.
Yeah.
Learn about what's going on in the real world, nature programs, all that sort of stuff, or something you can learn from as well.
Yeah.
But there's certain films now that'll trigger us. So like, if I'm watching a film that's quite like high stress levels or suspense, I can feel that building within myself, and I just think, I just don't want to continue on with it.
Have you watched Love Island?
No, I mean I have in the past, but like once I'd watched it once, I was like, nah, not for me. And that, not good.
Yeah, I just like I can't. I was at Jack Whitehall last night. Actually, he made a joke about just off topic. He was talking about how his girlfriend Roxy loves to watch. And I can't remember how he phrased it. He was basically saying, that show about like the love life for special needs people, and he was like, "What's it called?" And he was like, "Oh, Love Island." I was expecting to say Undateables as well. So that's some crazy. But it is. It just that kind of level of just. I don't know. There's something about the people that go on that show. I'm just like, I know, like you get like deals and stuff from it. So it's funny with going back to the panic attacks and stuff. Like obviously, a lot of people who suffer from them get there they sort of think there's something wrong with them, right? They start to think that am I broken? Am I even lovable? I think is another one. Yeah. Like, did you have those sorts of thoughts?
I think it was more so just like the fear of things and just worrying that there was something wrong with me and that life was going to end basically. So like I was just trying to understand what I was doing that was causing that sort of thing. Yeah. But then you just remove yourself from the situation as well. You don't want to go out and you don't want to communicate with people. And like, fortunately enough, I managed to find like the whole fitness side of things to help push myself out of it. But it was more so for that. It was just the sort of fear of general health and like what was possibly going wrong. Yeah.
Well, obviously, before the running thing, you were a competitive swimmer. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. So I swam from a young age. So my parents and grandparents got into swimming when I was probably like 4 or 5, maybe earlier than that. Nice. And then we're in the swimming club. So I'd done that till I was about 16. So racing all throughout the country. At national level, we've done training camps in the likes of Cyprus, France, so on and so forth, and that give us a lot of structure as a young kid as well. So I was training, 7 times a week?
Yeah.
4:45 in the morning, twice a week on a Saturday, then train on a night time as well. So then you get that structured routine from an early age. So then it's like, it helps push into later life. I mean, one thing for me, I love getting up early. I absolutely love it. And like people say, like, why are you doing it? Like,
when we say early, how early are we talking?
We're talking like 4. I think 4-ish is like to go for the sunrise, especially in the summer.
Yeah.
To get down for that. But I could also be up till the back end of the day as well. But it's the mentality of just when your alarm goes off, get up and get on with it. Not wake up, snooze your alarm, and then wait another hour and think I'm going to get more benefit from that sleep. But I think a lot of the reason I can do that as well is because I generally don't drink any alcohol. Once or twice on a special occasion. Other than that, I don't. So the body's kind of at that level where you can just wake up and just get on with your day.
Yeah.
And your energy's quite high, so I'm surviving probably on like 5-6 hours sleep at the minute.
I don't think I could do that.
But my body, and you will burn out once in a while. Like I can acknowledge when that's going to happen. So that might mean just having a bit of downtime, not going to the gym. Maybe it's just going for a walk like mid-morning, whatever it is, and just making sure that you don't burn yourself to the ground, that you can't recover from it. But I function better on that, to be honest with you. And I think like when you're eating healthy, you're looking after yourself. I disagree that you need 8 hours sleep a night.
It's
that's
true.
for my
Some people can
personal
function on less.
circumstance.
Some people can function on less.
If I have 8, I feel absolutely dead to the world and I can't function. But like one of the reasons why I get up early is so I can go for my sunrise dip, either on my own or with other people. Go for a run in the morning, go to the gym, and then by the time I get to work, I've already thought about all of the potential problems that we may have, and I've got that higher energy level. Dopamine's rushing through your body. I mean, they say obviously like the likes of that rush from cold water, that actually promotes like 10 times the effect and for a longer period of time as well.
Yeah.
So you get that high level positive energy throughout your own brain in the morning, and that makes you look at a problem as an opportunity rather than something that's going to potentially ruin your day.
Yeah, nice. It's funny that because when I was a kid, I used to love swimming until so I did about 5 months or something of like swimming class during school and stuff like that. And then it came to like November or something like that, and it got fucking freezing. And I remember there was this one lesson. I jumped in the pool. Like it was like classic swimming lessons where you all line up at the side of the pool.
Yeah.
You do your length. You go back of the queue. Right?
Yeah.
And it was my turn. Jumped in, and I was so cold.
Yeah.
It was ridiculously cold. It was like jumping in an ice bath. And obviously I was only a young kid, so I climbed straight back out.
Yeah.
And the swimming coach was like, get back in, you'll warm up. I'm like, no, I'm not getting in, it's freezing. She's like, get back in, you'll warm up. I'm like, I'm not getting back in. It's so cold. She was like, well, if you don't get in now, you're not doing the rest of the swimming lessons. It's like, fine. So she sent me out. I got changed. And like, I had to sit by like the side of the pool in like my school uniform and stuff. And I remember all the other kids just at the back of the line, like shivering like this. And I'm just like, warm jumper, you know, I got my fleece on and stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
And but that was honestly right now I don't even know if I can swim.
Yeah.
I've been in pools and stuff, but I'm like tall enough to touch the bottom.
Yeah.
But swimming's one of those things I really need to get back into.
Yeah,
and I know it's a life skill. And
it is, but it's also a great form of exercise without any stress on your body as well. So you don't have your joints aching because you're not, like, for example, running. You've always got that risk of hurting yourself when you're pounding the road. But with swimming, it's actually really good for your joints and stuff like that as well. And it's quite therapeutic. So you do like laps up and down. And it's just like a nice process, and you feel really refreshed off it as well when you're finished. It's good.
Sweet. So we're going to move now into the bulletproof mindset. So I'm really curious, when did you start to form this idea of the bulletproof mindset?
I think it's been within the past year or so, really. Going through like various different issues and stuff in life that were causing like sort of I say like frustration, or maybe it's where I just didn't feel like I could make that next step forward. So I mean, doing the Great North Run that first time, that was a bit of an eye opener. And then I've just pushed and just ran every day continuously throughout the past 4 years, a couple of days break in between that. And when I started thinking about ways to improve my own mental health, and I thought, right, well, what can I use in terms of exercise to do that? So within the past year or so, I've ran probably several marathons now, but I first thought to myself, right, can you push yourself without any specific training to go and run a marathon, just off the belt? Is your mind going to let you do it? And I did it. It was painful. I think I'd done like 3 hours 42, for example, on that first run. And I've just constantly worked at that in terms of like, right, let's pick a date, a couple of weeks' time, pick an activity. Is your mind going to let you break that next barrier? So the last one that I'd done, I thought to myself, right, so you've got these marathon runners where you go and do a race, you've got your gels, you've got your water, you've got all your pre-hydration, all that sort of stuff. I thought, can I go and run a marathon with just me, with no liquids, no food, nothing, and don't stop? Obviously, pre-hydrate beforehand, and I'm not suggesting that this is for anybody to try and do. You need to understand your own body.
Yeah.
But I believe in how I feel when I'm doing this sort of stuff. So I ran it, and I think I ran it in, I think it was like 3 hours and 8 minutes. I was trying to get under 3 hours. It was a hot day, so I couldn't achieve it. But I proved to myself that your body is capable of so much more if you really push it hard. But that side of things can then lead into pushing harder at work, making more effort in your family life and all that sort of stuff. So it's not just a case of just going and doing this exercise and feeling good for that. You've got to then use that energy to harness into other areas as well. I ran with one of my good mates, like a 60k, like up the river in Newcastle, and back down, and we didn't do any training for it as such. Like that general fitness that we had was going to cover, and we didn't know if we were going to be able to do it. But we promised each other that we'd push each other through that. And when your mind starts telling you that you want to stop, that everything's hurting, that you can't do it, you just have to keep pushing. You've got to kind of just get that mindset, just shut it off. Shut it off and just keep going.
What does your head say in those moments?
It says, why on earth am I doing what I'm doing? It says, is it really worth it?
Yeah.
But then the other side of the coin is, who knows that I'm doing it? Who am I going to let down? I take a lot of energy from that. So I wouldn't tell everybody I was doing it, but there's certain people that I did let know I was going to do that run. And it just kept in my mindset, if you don't finish this, you're going to let them down because you've told them you can achieve it.
It's that accountability, really, isn't it?
Accountability, 100%. And I'd done it because I wanted to be accountable for my actions and I wanted to achieve that goal. So I just kept pushing and basically managed to do that. Another example would be like the park run, for example. So I think I trained like 2 weeks prior, like post a lot of stuff on Instagram and just try and basically give myself a bit of accountability for what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Done a video and I basically said that I wanted to run me 5k in 70 minutes 30 and I wanted to win the race. So I had the Geordie Ice woman, she came with us to come and watch us. She supported us, took videos around the whole course, and I just thought, right, she's there, that's my accountability to hit this goal. So there was a bit of pressure from it as well, but I thought, right, you can do this, you can really do it, you're just going to have to go and try and break that barrier. So as it happens, I finished 6th out of, I think it was 607 people.
Nice.
And I got 17:32, so I was 2 seconds off that goal. But that hurt the whole way around because it was something that I'd never been able to do before. But it was, mindset had to be right, and the fact that there was somebody there watching to basically want you to succeed, help us push to that goal. And obviously when you finish something like that and you know you've achieved what you wanted to, it's like I was saying, the bulletproof mindset, you've basically done what you said you were going to do. So I like that. Don't bullshit it, just make sure that it's scary enough that it brings you to life and you've got that fire burning inside of you, but then you know that it's still hard enough that there's a potential for you not to be able to do it.
So because then if it was too easy and you knew you were going to do it, you probably wouldn't do it.
No, exactly.
I mean, you've got to have that edge and that like, well, I want that kind of thing.
But that's it. And like for the running for me, like the times that I'm doing now, like I look at them times and think, how have I actually managed to achieve that? Without any formal training, but it's the consistent approach to it. Just getting out and running all the time and basically then doing the weight training. So the weights, doing the leg training has helped have a stronger footing on the ground so you can just keep pushing through it. So I find it just fascinating because you basically just got to keep pushing your body to its limit. And it's such a enlightening experience. I suppose
you can't know your limits unless you push yourself to them.
Exactly.
Which is a quote that's actually up on my gym that I train at as well. And I look at it every day. I'm like, oh. But it's funny. It's interesting that pushing yourself leads into other areas of your life. I really like that because it is kind of true. Because as much as we try not to judge people by their bodies, right? If you were... Imagine, for all of you listening as well, right? Imagine you are a business owner, right? And you want to grow, you want it to do well. And during the hiring process, 2 people come in. One of them is, let's say overweight. Let's just say obese, but they're overweight. They are, a bit unkempt, for example. And then the other one is in good shape. Talks clear because they're quite buzzed. They've got a good lifestyle. They look after themselves. You're probably going to lean more towards the healthy one because it shows you in their body, in their physical form, how much effort they're willing to put in like when no one's paying them, no one's accountable. You know what I mean? It's like it shows that amount of effort, and I think that's really interesting scenario. And it's like, well, people might listen and go, well, why wouldn't it's not fair to do that, just hiring someone because they're slightly fitter. It's like, well, it shows, that's the whole point. It shows the effort that they're willing to put in.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And it's just, but it changes your entire mindset. It changes the way you approach challenges. Like, I don't think, like, when I started my journey, I was about 18, 19, something like that. I was starting stuff up. And one of the first things I did was try and improve my confidence as much as I could, because I was a really shy guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's a really big challenge I can do to push myself? So I was like, I signed up for a skydive, like a charity skydive. And I knew that I needed accountability, so that was the charity side of it. I'm going to let autistic children down if I don't raise this money for them, and I don't do the skydive. And I remember I came away and I was like, that was amazing. Like, what else can I do?
Yeah.
And now when I go into other situations, I'm like, nothing's as scary as falling out of a fucking plane. You know what I mean? Like, any challenge that comes to, like, nothing's really as scary as plummeting to your death. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And it's like, the more you do, you build that comfort bubble. I guess you could say you build that your level of faith in yourself, and it just stacks and stacks and
it's
stacks.
an internal confidence that you cannot buy. And I think, like, once you understand that, and then you start harnessing that energy, you can do anything that you put your mind to. It might require a bit of extra effort, energy, whatever it is, but you've got to, like, for me, you've just got to keep pushing. You've got to really try and reach those boundaries. And like you're saying there about the skydiving, personally for me, I don't think I could do it. I have a fear of heights for starters.
Oh shit, yeah.
But
I think everyone does.
It's like channeling it into something that you think, like, for example, my challenge would be like the Yorkshire Three Peaks, for example. Yeah. So we had actually planned to do a group of us to go and do it, and unfortunately they all bottled it.
Oh,
I know, and I was absolutely devastated. But I still woke up early that morning, packed lunch was made, and I thought, I'm just going to go. So I packed my bag, got in the car, went and walked the whole route. Shit. It took 8 hours to do it.
Nice.
But now, that was more mentally challenging than some of the other stuff, because your feet start aching a lot more because you're out there for so long.
Yeah.
And your brain just keeps thinking, I've got so many more miles to do. It was like 28-mile walk or something like that. And I was thinking, can't do it. And me mindset was going up and down constantly. So I was thinking, am I going to stop? I'm going to keep going. And I had to just put my music in the back end of it. And it just drive us through that sort of pain. But when you finished it, it was quite emotional, actually, to get like an emotional experience from that. And I think that's good because it helps you feel a lot more as well. Yeah. So I think people block a lot of stuff out, whereas I used the cold water and the running and the hiking to try and release a bit of emotion as well. Because like I think the stigma is that like men don't want to like show emotion like that, but I think that it's important that you can try and find what'll allow you to release it in a safe zone, whatever that may be, and just let it out. Because the sort of relief for the like the thought process that you go through after that can be really empowering as well, and that in itself could help strengthen your mind, because you don't have to hold up a certain level of manliness, shall we say. In that respect, like
there's a certain level of they say that if we were going to talk about masculine and feminine, they say there's an air of the feminine to the masculine, to the alpha male, right? And I really like that, because the best example you can give for this is Russell Brand, right? Because he is very flamboyant, right? But you look at him and you go, alpha dog, right? But he's very feminine. There's an air to it, and that's what I really like. And I think for men who don't express their emotions in a safe way, if men just go around being emotional, they're quite dangerous almost. They're quite like, because that's how you get, angry men, you get into fights, you get these men who think they're tough, but really they're just emotional little babies. They're not expressing them the right way. Whereas through exercise, through cold exposure, through meditation, something like that, whatever works for you, you're probably going to be, I would say, a better man for it.
Absolutely. Because then your brain's like thinking in a different light as well. And although it can be a painful experience, you've still got to try and experience that and feel it. And for me, the exercise also brings that out as well. So there's so many different angles that you take, and that's why I do what I do with that side of things as well. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. So in terms of if someone was going to start applying the bulletproof mindset to their life, where would you suggest them start? I think really just start with what you want to achieve out of it. Really, I think that's a key thing.
Is it a physical goal or a
It could be anything really. I mean, mental goals are obviously really important as well, because obviously you might be suffering in that respect, and you might just want to be in a better place in that respect. But I think like the exercise is a huge part to play for it.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting go and do what I'm doing and go running 60Ks and looking for your next goal of 100K, which we're planning to do shortly. I'm thinking just get outside. Try and get outside, get into nature, get away from the TV, get away from the computer, take your family with you, your friends with you, go and do it on your own, but just get outside. Find something that gets you going, that makes you feel excited. So for example, for me, running, like that is my primary love. I absolutely adore it. And that is where the bulletproof mindset came in, because that's something that I love now, that I know that I can push boundaries with. And by doing that, I can then use that tool in other areas as well. So you just find something that you buzz off. And it doesn't have to be high energy experiences, but when you start getting that dopamine buzz from it, then you can start looking at pushing yourself in other areas as well. You strengthen your mind, and then you take on some challenges, like you were saying. Book a skydive, go and do a zip wire, I don't know, go scuba diving, do something along those lines that you're scared of, to see what you can get from it. And then pick another activity and just try and chip away at things, but just get out and get moving. I think that's the first point to say, like, just to try and like get yourself active, find your love, then push it.
Because a lot of people force themselves to do like things that they hate, and it's like, if you don't like running, like I don't like running, right? I tried to do running once and I threw up a lung, right? Not for me. However, weight training, heavy weight training, you know, body weight stuff, I love it. It makes me feel good. So find something like that. Like we're saying, like most people go through and they think exercises, there has to be something that they hate doing. And it's like, well, you're not going to stick to it.
No.
If you hate doing it, you're not going to stick to it. It's as simple as that.
It doesn't have to be the gym. That's the thing. You don't have to go and have a PT and go to the gym and all that sort of stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, you go and do your hikes on a weekly basis. You're still burning calories. You're still getting that dopamine rush into your body. And then that starts allowing you to see the more positive signs in life as well.
100%. And moving to the cold water therapy. When did that start and why?
So I started that in, I think it was December 20 or 21. So it was freezing cold when I first done it. I've done it with a couple of friends.
You picked a good month to start.
It was choppy, mate, to say the least. And it was in King Eddie's Bay down next to where I live. And it was freezing cold. But I remember that day, once I'd done it, I went to work. Obviously, we're in a high stress level environment with like production machines running, loads of people kicking about. Everyone seemed really stressed out, but I actually was like, oh, hang on, I feel quite relaxed. And my brain was functioning on a high level. I use like the term like being in like a golden bubble. So it's like you're protected from like all the negative energy that's coming towards you, and it allows you to function on a much higher level. And then from that, I started reading into it and understood that it would help with recovery from training. And obviously with the running side of things, I thought, well, hang on, if I can recover quicker, I can then run faster, run longer, and all that sort of stuff. And then it just became part of like a daily routine. But I wasn't doing it on a regular basis as much. But now I've basically decided to go for like trying to do it for a year. So been running, I think I've run like 80 days, something like that so far. It is warmer at the minute, so it's not as challenging. I do know what it's like in the winter, and it's absolutely disgusting. And I'm not going to say that it's enjoyable, but this is another mindset focus. You've got to push your body beyond its limits. And when you're in that freezing cold water, it is absolutely brutal cold in the winter. But once you've been in that water and you've come out and you get yourself dry and you warm yourself back up, and then that dopamine starts coming through, then you realise how powerful that is. Like I've been in when I've been stupidly low with stuff, when I've not felt energetic, when my brain's going 100 miles an hour and I can't control my thought process. When you're in there, it's just you with the water, and you can just basically look out to the horizon, especially if the sun's coming up. Like I went the other morning messing around doing like handstands in the water and just videoing like daft little things like that, but it's just the experience of that. It's great in groups as well. There's benefits to both, but I think my like main love is to do it like in a smaller group, or like maybe it's on my own, because then you can really knuckle down into the reason why you're doing it.
It's a more personal experience, isn't it, as well? And I think that's why I love cold showers and stuff as well, because like you said, like it really brings you into that moment, because nothing else matters except the fact that you're freezing cold.
You
know what I mean? Not like you can like you can try and think of everything you want, but you're like, I'm cold. I need this to stop.
You just want to get straight out. You want to get straight out, but then you've like I've obviously got a Garmin watch for all my running, so I use that when I'm in the water to track the timing. And it might be like when it gets to the winter, you do 3 minutes, and you try and push to 4, and you've just got your body's got to adapt to it, which it will. It's painful as soon as it hits your legs. It's painful, but then you've got to think like, what will you be able to achieve once you've been in that water?
Yeah.
How calm can your mind be once you've been in there as well? And I think that's like such a valuable tool that not enough people use. I think there's too much focus on the likes of antidepressants and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, rather than like, what can you actually do first before you jump pills?
They won't push that because obviously the money can't be made from people going into the water. And I think it's great, like in the summer period when more people get involved with it, I just hope that it pushes them on to do it in the colder months and that it becomes a more regular thing. And it is so popular now. Like we went down for the summer solstice down at Cullercoats Bay. There must have been 100+ people on the beach, and we got there for 4 a.m.
Jesus.
So we were up at 3:30, and it was ram-packed. You had kayakers, you had people doing yoga. There was people just sitting with music on, fires going, and it just like it brings people together as well.
Yeah.
Like everyone's got their own story. They've got their own personal reason why they're doing it. But then when you get a group together, you can share those experiences and like strengthen each other. You see the change in people as well. You see people changing because of that experience. And like that, for me, on the sort of quiet side, shall we say, in a comparison to the running and the gym and all that sort of stuff, is probably the most powerful tool that I've been able to harness alongside the actual physical movement of the body. So it's going from like high energy to low energy, I suppose, in one respect.
Yeah.
But they work in tandem very, very well. And I think that's why it can basically allows me to do what I'm doing at the minute. And I just want to keep pushing that and to see how far I can go.
Nice, because you're kind of obsessed with like almost the breaking point, I would say, of people's mental abilities.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, obviously some people might think, well, you're not actually doing anything too crazy, but it's not about that. Everyone's got their own limits, and everyone's got what they know they can achieve. And I think, like I said to you earlier, I'm cautious in terms of what I do. I'm sensible, so I don't take too many risks. It might be a calculated one, but I wouldn't put myself in danger.
Yeah, you're not stupid about it. Yeah.
So it has to be. I have to know that it's a safe method of doing something, but it's still going to push me boundaries.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can just start developing it from that way.
It's like I made a post a few years back when I was doing cold showers and stuff, and I was like, I recommend people try this.
Yeah.
And some guy piped up like, well, what about people who have anxiety and panic attacks, and this could set them off? I'm like, well, obviously don't do it. You know what I mean? Like that's what kind of infuriates me. A lot of people don't think, like, there's probably people reading your post going, well, I can't do that because it's like, well, don't do it then. You know what I mean?
And I would never suggest people do something. I'm not telling people to go and jump in the freezing cold water. I'm not saying that you have to go for big runs or you have to go to the gym. The whole point is that you've got to try and find something that works for you.
Yeah.
If you can just take that little bit away from what's being said and try and use that and harness that energy from it, then you will find something that you love to do, and it can bring people out of like these horrible dark places that they get put in, and just using that natural environment around them to be able to do that as well.
No, I agree.
And I've always said that if like people would message and say like, I want to go for a swim or whatever, come with us. Like, honestly, just drop us a message, come with us, and I'm more than that. I've took people in, and there's people that are now doing it on a regular basis without me present and absolutely loving it. And then you get messages saying, I've been in this morning, I've done this tonight, I've been to this location. That's more valuable than anything else as well.
Yeah. Have you noticed many people being like inspired by you? Like, have you noticed people who kind of followed your journey? Like, has your followers kind of gone up?
People will message and just say like they're loving the journey in terms of what I'm doing, because I'm quite open on Instagram, so I'll just post how I feel, and it transitions across from family, running, like the whole array of things. But I think it's just that grid's there for me processing my feelings onto that board. So some posts might be popular, some might not be so much, but to me, I don't really care. All I want to do is just push out how I feel, and I do get a lot of feedback from people saying they've gone and done a dip, and they're explaining to us how they felt, what they were doing, asking for feedback, all that sort of stuff. And I think if you can change one person's outlook on life, that's enough.
Yeah,
massively, really is.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because people often say that like when they do things like when they get into things like this, they kind of burn out, like we were saying earlier. And I think a lot of people go too intense, is my thing. So it goes from one extreme of I'm doing nothing to all of a sudden now I'm doing cold water therapy, I'm going to the gym, I'm getting massages, I'm doing yoga, I'm doing meditation. And then it lasts maybe a month and a half. And then they're like, I can't do it all. I'm too stressed. I'm more overwhelmed than I was before. And it's like, because consistency beats intensity every time.
Of course it does.
It's like,
and you don't need to be doing all of those activities as well.
Yeah.
And I could understand like the way that you've just described that it sounds like a stressful thing, because the whole point is that you do these tools around your life to benefit the rest of it. So just for me, there's days like yesterday morning, I was getting up the previous days 4:00, and I thought I'm just gonna have a lie in. Didn't go to the gym. Went for a little swim last night, and that was it. And then you just need that downtime. You don't need to be going around at 100 miles an hour all the time. Go for a 20-minute walk after work just to get some fresh air. You don't have to go rattling through the gym and then swimming like you say, because you're putting too much pressure on yourself to do that as well.
Yeah.
Well, just one tool would do the job, really.
Well, self-improvement can become self-stress, right? Because you're going, well, I'm going to get up at 4, I'm going to go in the sea, then I'm going to journal, then I'm going to do yoga, then I'm going to go to the gym, then I'm going to do this in my ice bath. Do you know what I mean? And it's like your entire day, your entire life becomes self-development and self-help. I've got to read 30 pages of this book. I've got to listen to this on Audible. I've got to listen to podcast. You know, and it's like, that's so much.
Yeah.
Just pick 2 or 3 things, man, that benefit your life, and then you'll be fine. You'll be golden.
Stick with them. Exactly. I totally agree with you.
Because like it bugs me, because people think, like, I've spoken to so many people who have come to me for help, and I'll give them one thing, and they can't even do that, and I'm like, but then you see them comment on loads of other stuff, and they're like, I'm gonna try this, I want to do this, I want to do this. I'm like, you asked me for help, and you're not gonna do all of this stuff. I'll give you one thing. Like, there's a great book by I think it's Gary Keller, I want to say, called The One Thing.
Right.
And that's what really changed my outlook on it, was the fact that he's like, what one thing can you do today that makes the biggest impact in your life? That's all you need to ask yourself. What one thing can I do today that makes the biggest impact on my life and those around us? Simple.
Very simple.
It's when you keep everything like this simple, it just makes life so much better.
It should be, and you shouldn't force anything. Like, I do enjoy reading, but when I'm not feeling it, I won't do it. Like, I'm reading that, he's heard the 10 times rule by Grant Cardone.
Yeah, the next rule, yeah.
Absolutely love that, because I started reading that book and actually realised that I can actually already relate to a lot of the stuff that's written within that. So you're kind of at that level. But again, it's like, you don't need to be rushing around. You don't have to read because you think you've got to read to help yourself. You don't have to go and run 100 miles a week and all that sort of stuff. Just do what feels right at that given time. And just don't put too much pressure on yourself.
That's it.
But the consistent approach will, over time, it will get you to where you want to be. Like, I wanted to change my physique with what I was doing with the training. I was going to the gym continuously thinking I'm not changing, I'm not developing, but I've been doing it for 14 months now, and I've finally started to see the real benefits from it. You've just got to remember that it ain't a quick fix. There is no real quick fixes. There's a lot of shite out there, basically.
Oh God, abs in 6 weeks. Get the body of dreams in 12. It's like,
it's not realistic, but it's also like all of these pills that people offer, these daft little plans that aren't sustainable, and I also don't agree with a lot of types of diet as well. So I'm not going into the ins and outs of it, but like for me, I think it's very simple: energy in, energy out. Keep it simple. Don't mess around with things. Don't go and do like a specific keto or whatever it may be, because really you're going to be in a deficit from that type anyway. Just make sure that you're not eating too much throughout the day, and if you want to lose a little bit of weight, be a bit more active. Track it. You don't have to write it all down, but just look at what you're eating. Like, I eat the same stuff on a daily basis.
Oh, same, man. I've had 4 eggs for breakfast for like the last 3 years or something.
But then you know on each day, if like, you're going to know if your weight's up or down. Like, I have to go through a process where I've got to weigh in every week, take photos every week for accountability. So if I don't eat the right stuff, it won't be achieved. But if I'm feeling tired, or if I feel like I deserve a treat, shall we say, I'll have a pizza. I'll have whatever I want to have, and I'll deal with that. But you've still got to just enjoy it. But just don't be gorging all day, every day.
But how often would you have that treat, though? That's the thing. That's what people... Because like...
Not often. Right, so like, for example, I'd maybe have like a pizza like once a week. But that's not all the time as well. Like, my coach is very focused on making sure that I'm strict on the plan. But he's also very respectful of the fact that I've got very high output as well. So if I go and have something that I want, or a cake, or a couple of cookies, or whatever it is, it actually won't affect what I'm doing. But don't have like a cup of tea in the morning with 10 biscuits and then do the same in the afternoon. Don't pile your food on. Just think about what you're eating. Don't eat processed food so often. I'm not saying don't eat it, just drop it a little bit. Eat clean food. Eat your chicken, eat your tuna, eat your rice, all that sort of stuff. I use an air fryer, and I make chicken burgers from chicken mince.
Nice.
Right. Loads of spice, loads of sriracha sauce. Put them in there for 20 minutes. Put them in a wrap. Put some salad in. If you want to, put some chips in the oven. And layer that on with a bit of mayonnaise. But honestly, mate, they're absolutely amazing. But you get the flavour from the food. You've got the spice, which obviously takes your cravings away from sweet stuff as well. And then you have that, you've filled, you've got your protein, you've got your carbs, and you're good.
Yeah.
And it's just trying to understand that better. Oven food, stuff like that, freezer food, I try to keep away from it as much as physically possible, because I know that it's saturated in fats.
All sorts of crap, yeah.
But then it takes that long to get it back off your body. Like, to burn fat, to actually burn fat.
Oh yeah, I mean, people like I used to know a few people who would eat like a 3-course meal, then go, well, I'm going to go for a walk later and burn it off. But you are not going to burn off a 3-course meal from one walk. Like, no. I've always used this because when you go on a treadmill in a gym, you see the calories that you apparently have burnt, right? So if you were to walk at a reasonable pace for say 10 to 12 minutes, you're likely going to burn off 3/4 of a Kit Kat. Yeah, and it's like that's 100 calories. It's like 102 calories in a Kit Kat, right? So you could burn like 75 calories or something in 10 to 12 minutes, right? Yeah. You've got a 3-course meal, which is probably more than likely going to be 1,500, maybe 1,600, something like that.
If not more,
if not even close to.
Depends on what you eat, of course.
If you had a Toby Carvery, fuck me, you'd be, you know what I mean?
You'd be
running for days. You'd be like Forrest Gumping it over the hills, you know what I mean? But it's like people aren't aware of their calorie intake for the most part, and it's so simple.
It is.
Like, people make like gaining weight and losing weight, because I was a hard gainer. I would try to gain weight. Yeah. People make it so complicated. Yeah. And they think that all these fad diets are going to work. It's like, nope, calories in, calories out. You want to gain weight like I did? Yeah. You just eat more.
Eat more
right?
clean food as well.
It's very hard to gain weight on clean food for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, I was very much a dirty bulk. I kind of still am a little bit, but I'm like 95% clean.
Yeah.
Then I'll have
but you're still training hard, so you're going to be burning those calories.
Yeah, I'm in the gym 3-4 days a week. You know what I mean? Like, it might not show. You know what I mean? My abs aren't quite there yet, but you know what I mean? It's still I feel good for it, and I'm not I don't have issues with my weight and stuff, so it's fine. Of course. But for most people, they're just not aware of how much they're doing, and they're keeping it so complex. They're like, oh, like I can burn this off. No, you can't.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I used to do that. So when I was running, I wasn't eating very well, so my physique wasn't great, and I would use the running as a tool to burn calories. And I'm out of that mindset now. Yeah, I'll eat what I'm gonna eat, but it's like quite strict. So like I know like. My daily routines, I'm not going to go and gorge on stuff. I'm not going to fly to the chippy then on the night time at McDonald's or whatever it may be. So I'm confident that if I've got a lower level of output, then I'm going to be okay. But when you're doing like the running and stuff like that, you're constantly burning. Like, I'm always running hot. I'm boiling hot all the time. Yeah. And you step on the scales and you've lost a bit more weight. And you just like, once you get the ball rolling with it, it's just understanding your own body basically. And if you want to achieve it, you've just got to knuckle down and try and think about it. You don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to have an abundance of free time. You've just got to be mindful in what you're doing. Absolutely. I mean, an air fryer is a good example. It took 20 minutes to make that meal. It takes 5 minutes to prep it. Done, dusted, you're eating, and it's easy to clean. Yeah. And if you have got family and all that sort of stuff, kids, you might not have the time to prep a fantastic meal. I don't prep a huge amount of stuff. I keep it simple. Yeah. And that's the best way to it. Keep it simple, put loads of flavour in it.
Oh yeah, agreed.
That's it.
Like, my dad's one of them old school people who, like, when like I eat with him or whatever, he's like, there's like no salt and pepper. I'm like, bro, come on, like, just even the bare minimum, just put some on, like, give me a bit of flavour in my food.
Oh, you need it, man, you need it. But I always go for the spicy stuff. Like, I'm inspired by Thai food, that sort of cuisine, because you've got punchy flavours in there: ginger, garlic, soy sauce, chilies.
Wasabi can do one though.
Yeah, it's not the best. It's not a nice flavour, is it? Like, at all. But it's but like you say, if you get the flavours in, that's when you can win. I mean, you put like tuna in a wrap with some rice, put sriracha sauce with the tuna and a bit of mayonnaise, and it brings it to life. You don't have to have a bit of chicken breast with a bit of broccoli and a bit of rice with no flavouring on it. Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
As much sauce as you want, man. As much sauce as you want. Agreed. Exactly. So if someone was to get into running, for example, right, where would they start? Because a lot of people who go into running, it literally kills them the first time. Yeah. So where would someone start? Any tips? Any advice for starting?
An easy one for me would just be use a Couch to 5K app. It's not something that I've used, but I know people that have used it. It's a very structured tool, and it's something that help give you confidence, because the whole point of it is that you take a training plan and you just do it in very small increments, and then over the period of time that you're doing it, you gradually start running a little bit more. So that's it. It's very simple. Try and utilize that app if you want to get out there and run, because it won't overdo it. So if you just try and run a 5K and you've never ran before, it's going to hurt and you're probably going to injure yourself. So you just need to be cautious to it. I would also suggest that using the right running trainers is absolutely paramount. For me, I would be straight to like a running store and get them just to check your feet position as well, because a lot of people make mistakes of buying neutral trainers. Like I love Nike trainers, fortunately enough I'm neutral, but if you've got an over or under pronation and you run with a neutral shoe, you're going to get an injury. It's just how it's going to work. So just being kitted out with the correct stuff, using that app would be a great way to start things as well, and then just making sure that you're hydrated if you're going to go running. And obviously if it's hot and all that sort of stuff, just like be mindful of your body and just be aware that if it does feel too much, just take it a bit easier. But it's just a gradual way of getting into it. And like for me, once I found the buzz from it, once I stripped the weight off and found the right trainers and realised that I was actually quite good at it, it gives you such a buzz. It's amazing. I ran a half marathon the other night after work, after being up since 4 o'clock.
Just for the crack?
Beautiful sunshine, top off, sunglasses on, music in, and just went up and down the coast, and it was just absolute bliss. Nice. Finished it, and I hadn't had the best day, to be honest with you, and it just brought us back to life. And it sort of gave us a bit more of a purpose again.
Brought back to peace as well.
Yeah, peace, but I was mindful of coming to see you and making sure that I had that energy that I've got within us to make sure that I was promoting me as a real person.
You didn't come in like half-arsed, like,
absolutely, because I do have that high energy and it's just natural. It's like I'm up for quite a long period of time throughout the day. I don't need a lot of sleep and I'm literally on the move. I can't sit and watch TV. It frustrates us. So like I was saying to you before, I've got plans today when we're finished. I'm going out, I'm going to do the garden, I'm going to get things sorted. If I'm moving, I'm good, and then just get myself to bed just before it's time to go to sleep, and it's really satisfying doing it that way as well.
Well, you tore your calf and then ran, was it 5K, is that right?
So I tore my calf during the second Great North run that I'd done. Oof. Yeah, that was really painful. I knew there was something wrong before I started because I took like a couple of painkillers and it just felt a bit niggly. And
like your foot's like twice the size. There might be something wrong here.
It tore on, I think it was like 17 or 18 kilometers or whatever it was, and I ran the rest of it because I didn't want to fail because there was people at the end waiting for us. Wow. But I had to run with my heel or with my foot up because if I hadn't, it was cramping.
Oh,
and it was the most excruciating pain. So I got to the finish line. One of the girls had like a bottle of Prosecco, so I just nicked it off them, just necked the whole thing because the pain was that bad.
Wow.
Just to try and alleviate it. But then over the next few days, it went black and blue. I had a holiday coming up. I couldn't walk. Had to go to the hospital. Refused crutches or anything like that. And then it took like 8 or 9 weeks to get back to that. And that was mentally really tough because I just found this love for an activity that I just couldn't be without. Had to just do a little bit of lighter training, swim, and just try and deal with it. But now I'm very in tune with my body and mindful that I've got to keep hydrated. I say stretch, I don't, so I'm not going to lie, I don't actually stretch, but I know I should.
Yeah.
But just making sure that I listen to my body. If I've gone for a big run the day before, don't go and do legs the next day in the gym.
Yeah, it's overdoing it.
Keep hydrated. Electrolytes, massively for me. Electrolyte a day keeps the cramp away. And honestly, I truly believe that because I never get cramp. Because my salt levels are always where they should be, and it's just using these tools around you to do the best that you can and try and avoid injury and stuff like that.
Yeah, so why did you refuse the crutches? I'm curious.
No, they actually refused me. So they said that I wouldn't allow them because if I had crutches, then I wouldn't put weight on it, so it wouldn't repair. So so if I was sitting down for 5 minutes, it would literally go tighter than you could ever imagine, and I would have to literally try and like stretch the leg out. Yeah. Get some flexibility in it and then start walking with it, but like the colour of it was absolutely disgusting.
I can imagine, mate. But that's quite a unique mindset to have, to feel like there's something wrong, still do the race, and then be in absolute agony, but then still finish.
Yeah. Like,
where does that come from? Like, where does that drive come from to do that?
Desire not to fail. So if you
have you always had that, or
no? I think like it's just in the later life, and I think like 30s onwards, and just realizing that time's not it's not going to go on forever. So I want to make a stand. I want to do as much as I possibly can, so that when my time's up, I know that I've literally achieved everything that I can.
Yeah,
and it's just pushing those boundaries. And I think like if I'd stopped in that race, I know how I would have felt. Like for me, if I get a PB, I know that buzz would take me into the following week for everything. So if I stopped, not only would I not finish the race, I actually hit a PB as well. So I actually managed to get a PB even with a torn calf.
Nice.
So like, and it was
so if that's the case, then you guys listen. You can do something about this as well. You can do this.
Yeah, and I just thought like just get it done. I mean, generally wouldn't advise running on it because it probably cause a bit more damage. But personally, for personal development and for how I knew I would have been mentally if I hadn't finished it, there was no choice. And no matter, I had to get it done. And whether if it was that bad, I would have just got someone to just get a hold of us and bring us over.
Carry me. Yeah.
It's the only other option I could think of, really. Yeah. But yeah, just keep pushing.
Yeah. So in your personal view, what do you think? What is it about people's mindsets that annoys you the most? Like personally, is there anything that crops up and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake?
I think it's just like giving up with things very easily, or not giving something a chance. And just saying like it's not for me, or I can't do that because of this, and I can't do that because of that. Because really, you can. Of course, you can. You can get out there and you can push yourself a little bit harder. Everyone's got different abilities, so on and so forth, but there's always an avenue for somebody to improve. And if they're on that journey and they want to do that, then they have to want it for themselves, and they have to really push out of that comfort zone to achieve it. And it's not an easy thing to do. It's took me years to try and master this mindset where I'll literally pick a challenge and go for it. But you've just got to get up and get on with it. And try and just think about how it would make you feel when you finish whatever the activity is, and just don't let the demons get into your head too much, because by doing that, it makes them disappear.
It's funny, we mentioned earlier about the not relying on motivation, and it's true. Like if you start the thing without motivation and you just go, you know what, I'm going to do it. It's a decision which leads to the action, which then leads to the motivation to keep doing the action.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's people just forget this. It's like it's again keeping it simple, a simple formula. Like action leads to discipline leads to motivation, leads to habit.
Yeah.
And once something becomes a habit, like it's very hard to break. Like people say it's various times to make a habit. Like some people say 21 days, some people say it's like 71 days. Yeah. Like I think it changes for people. I think it depends on how much they love the habit or how much they actually want the thing. But it's like, for me, like I started off going to the gym, fucking hated it, couldn't lift a thing. I remember I walked in the first day and my trainer that I got was like, oh, okay, I lift that bar off the ground. It was like a 20 kilogram bar. Yeah. Couldn't lift the bar. Couldn't even get the grip strength to get it. I was so just like, well, this is off to a roaring start. But then it's like, then the next day you come in and you lift 5, then you lift 10, then weeks later you lift 15, and then you just keep that progression going. And then you start to see results. And it's just this nice flow of a process. But like you said, people just want the quick fixes. They want to be in there, and they want to be, Arnold Schwarzenegger within a week. They want to be Usain Bolt within, a couple of days of running. And it's like, you're in it for the long game.
Yeah, of course. But you need to think about short-term goals as well. So if you get the short-term, it'll lead to the longer-term. Like for me, like running that 5K at the time that I've done it in, I just keep thinking like, how on earth have I managed to do that? But then I just look back to the process. Yeah. And like you say, the consistent approach. Just keep doing it. Look at where you might have failed. Push it again. Push it a little bit harder. And just have that mindset approach to it. Because like running 60K is no easy task. But when you've already done like a 42, and then you've done a 50, then you've done a 55, you think, well, it's only a little bit more than that. And yes, it was painful throughout the process. Yeah. But you can still push that barrier a little bit further. And it's, if you can like embed that into your mind to understand that you are actually capable of so much more than you think you are, then really there's no ceiling to it, and you can just keep developing. No,
great. I love that, man. I love that. So obviously, earlier this year, I had a guest on here, the Geordie Ice Woman. Yeah. Right? And she said to me, I know this guy, Craig, he'd be really interesting to get on, right? And I was like, had no idea about the pair of you at the time. Yeah. So I'm curious, like, because obviously you guys post together all the time. Yeah. Right? And it just seems like such a great dynamic. So how has that sort of relationship like changed your life?
Massively, to be honest with you. I mean, Sarah got us into the cold water on a more regular basis because of her challenge. I mean, she's doing 504 days, I think it is now, consecutively, aiming for the 2 years. And that inspired me in itself to try and do it on a more regular basis. So that's why I'm on to like 80 days now. So whether we do that together or apart, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter as long as we're still on that journey. But yeah, I think like the water's brought us together. We've got a very high energy level, which works really well. Yeah. And we just bounce off each other really, really positively as well. It's almost like I look at her and I see myself in her, but as a female, it's crazy. And like when you find somebody like that, you want to just harness that energy and work together to help each other through hard times, good times, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, just absolutely amazing, to be honest with you. Never met anybody like it.
How did you guys meet?
In the water, basically. So I had a bit of chat before it, and then there was like a dip, like a group dip happening. So we just went down there, basically, had a conversation, and then it was just like wildfire, basically.
Nice. Like an instance of...
Oh, instant. Like, unbelievable. Like, the connection that I felt was like nothing I've ever experienced before. It was absolutely amazing. So we've been like the waterfalls together, we've been for hikes together, we've experienced like the cold water dip after that. Mountain of different things. It feels like, although we haven't known each other for a huge amount of time, the experiences that we've been able to share together throughout that process have just been amazing. Nice. And because we understand the whole mental health benefits from it, we can help each other throughout those sort of processes to really to strengthen ourselves, but also work together as a team, and just create like a team that's essentially unbreakable from anything externally surrounding us as well.
Nice. Well, what I love about it is the fact that you do it together, and I think that's what many couples miss, is that one of them goes to the gym, one of them doesn't. One of them does cold water therapy, one of them doesn't. One of them goes to yoga, one of them doesn't. And that causes a rift because one feels so much better than the other. And I think it's like what a lot of relationships miss now is doing that together. You know, they say couples are train together, stay together, right? I think it's amazing. Like the way you guys, you know, when you just put the phone down and you're running it into the sunset,
doing the daft little dances and stuff. Like
but it's like great. That's cute though, and it's not a case of like, oh, you know, it's not a generic social media post of like, oh, me and my partner out for food. Here's some, you know, here's one master pizza. It's like we're doing an experience together, and I think that's probably going to inspire a lot of people's relationships.
Yeah, I hope it does, because like if you can work together in a team like that and go and experience those sort of things, and like I say, we do put like a lot of posts on together in terms of the stuff that we've been doing, put the music on, and just creating that high energy environment for us, because then people will see that and be inspired to come and get involved with it as well. And it's all just we're just basically promoting like the energy that's inside of us in terms of how beautiful that experience can be. And when you can harness that energy to like it's on such a level, it's like a higher level than anything I've ever experienced before. And it just works really, really well for us, so it's good.
Oh man, I absolutely love it. So for this next bit, you guys listening might not hear this bit. It depends if I cut this bit out, so we'll see how it goes. So for this podcast, obviously I did a lot of research behind you, and I spoke to Sarah obviously about I was like, any dirt that I can bring up and stuff. She gave me a few things, and I was interested in some funny stories and stuff, and it just made me realize how good your relationship is. But she also mentioned something that by the time this podcast comes out, will be announced. So she said that it's cool to bring this up. Right. So is there anything that you want to tell us that's coming up in the future? I
can only imagine it would be that we're having a baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, it is. Yes, are you excited about this?
Absolutely. Could not be happier with it. We're absolutely over the moon. Amazing. Beautiful. Very emotional as well.
Cool. So you guys are going to hear this, then I'm not going to cut this on the podcast. That's fine. So I was like, I'm going to leave it just in case, because she mentioned that this podcast goes on the 17th of July. So you guys obviously haven't told, you've told like close people, but not like a big announcement. Correct. So, and I'm not going to ruin the surprise. This is going to be delayed if need be. That's absolutely fine. I'm giving you guys the space that you guys need. But how are you feeling? Are you wanting a boy or a girl? Obviously, I don't know. If
so we've had a discussion. We would like a boy.
Nice.
That is our sort of
Craig Jr. Brodie Jr.
Brodie Jr. Nice. Exactly. A little ice baby as well. So getting them involved with the water and stuff like that. So we've already discussed all that sort of stuff. We've discussed names. And we're just hopeful that it is a boy, and I genuinely believe, I feel it inside us that it will be as well. So it's such a beautiful experience so far. The news is amazing. Like when she told us, I just could not be happier. It's an emotion I've never felt in my life. So just more love towards her and the family as well. Like just absolutely amazing.
You know, Adam's a great baby name for a boy. Did you know that?
Well, I'm actually we're thinking about calling him George.
Nice. That's a strong name.
I've got a middle name as George, my dad and my granda as well. So there's a bit of family trail.
That's
in
cool.
That as well.
No, I like that.
So we haven't even discussed the girl's name yet because we're that adamant that it's going to be a boy. So just focus on that as well.
It's funny that you say that because I've got a gut feeling that my first child is going to be a girl.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because my mom always wanted a girl, and she ended up with 2 boys. And for some reason, I just feel like that is going to pass through me, and I'm going to come up with a little girl. But
It's exciting.
So in terms of what you would want, say, your child to grow up with a mindset of, like, how do you imagine your impact's going to be on their mindset?
I would follow the impact in terms of like what I'm doing now. Really would like to try and get them into outdoor activities, definitely within the cold water therapy in that respect.
Nice.
And just to appreciate and understand how valuable being outdoors is, connections with people, making sure that you're mindful of yourself but also others around you, and just try and harness someone that's very thoughtful, caring, and that basically looks out for others as well.
Nice.
And basically just rocks it.
Oh mate,
yeah,
I'm so buzzed for you, man. You're gonna be such a great dad. I can already tell. So you're gonna be like running in the sea with one of them harnesses on.
That's it. We go hiking and get the van in the front.
That's so cool. Because it's like I think when parents do such cool stuff and they get the kids involved from such a young age, I feel like the child just is so much more confident, so much more able to handle stuff than if they were like, wrapped in bubble wrap and stuff like that.
Absolutely. We're taking in front of TV and all that sort of stuff. And like, obviously I've experienced that as a younger kid, and I know what negative impact you can have from just being in front of the telly all the time. So I think for us, like, we know like what we want to be able to create for us. And I think because like we've got two people with such high energy, we're discussing like how they're going to look, the hair color, the eye color, all that sort of stuff. And like I've created this sort of envisage of what it's going to be. And then also, like how we want them to be able to develop and be a good person on this earth as well, which I think is really important.
No. Well, knowing you both, I can't imagine that baby's going to turn out to be a little shit. I think it's going to be the cutest little thing. Like, I hope so. Or as a boy or a girl, it's going to be so cute, and I think you're going to do amazing, mate.
Thank you very much, mate.
Amazing. But, mate, we are out of time for our episode. That's why I kind of wrap on. But, mate, I think that you and Sarah are honestly going to be the best parents. I think the way you inspire people, the way you both have a very strong mindset, the way that your energy is, I just think, I'm so excited to see what's next for you. So do we have any future plans for yourself? Is there anything that you've got booked in down the line? Anything that you've got that you want to share with everyone?
For the minute, I think really it's just in terms of the running side of things. Me and one of my close mates want to try and tackle 100k.
Nice.
And just hit that as a goal. In that respect, I think that's the most, like, obviously I'm working on physique in the gym. Just continue work at that and see how far I can push that.
Are we going bulk or are we leaning?
I'm leaning down at the minute to try and get abs out, and it's very difficult, but we're getting there. And then I think like work wise, obviously we've got a few different projects on. Try and push that to the point where we're comfortable enough, like in terms of money, to be able to develop the family side of things as well. So we've also got goals in terms of developing the house and making sure that we can make sure that everybody's happy and that we've got it how we want it as well. So it's just a case of just balancing those out, but obviously family is going to come first. That's got to be the primary goal. So all exciting, and like I say, keep the balance between everything, and it'll all work out. Yeah, man.
We need you both on here. We need you and Sarah on like a joint thing.
It done.
There's a third microphone downstairs that I haven't tested out yet, so
that'll be good fun.
You guys can be my first double act on here. It's fucking chaos. I can imagine it would just be chaos as well.
It'd be good.
It'll be amazing, mate. So where can people follow you? Where can people find your journey? Like, where are you on social media?
So I'm mainly on Instagram. So it's Broads88 Running Man. It's got like a little underscore on the 88 after the Running Man. Give us a follow, see what you think I'm about. If you want to connect, drop us a message. I'm more than happy to speak to anybody that wants to get any sort of insight into what I do, if they need any guidance on anything, or if they just want to drop a message just to show some support. And obviously I'm more than happy to follow back in that respect as well, and push support back out, because it works both ways basically.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Well, you're a massively inspiring dude, and I'm so happy that you took the time to come on the podcast today,
I appreciate
mate.
it.
But listen, guys, thank you very much for listening. As always, go and give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Music. None of this 4-star bullshit, because that just does nothing for us. So until the next one, guys, check out all the other episodes on this podcast, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.